How to play Ahau, Rulers of Yucatán. Setup. The board game is double-sided. Use this side for a 2 or 3 player game, and this side for a 4 or 5 player game. Place the city tiles at random face up on each of the marked hex spaces on the board. Place the circle production site tiles randomly face up on each of the marked circle spaces between the cities. In a 2 or 3 player game, place the last tile face up on the first space of the calendar track. Set aside the 5 pyramid tiles showing the starting icon. If playing with fewer than 5 players, remove the pyramid tile showing the 5-player icon. Place all remaining pyramid tiles into the bag and shuffle them. Draw and place 2 pyramid tiles face up in each region, 1 in each of the marked square spaces. If playing with fewer than 5 players, remove the building tile showing the 5-player icon, and shuffle the other building tiles and deal 1 face up on each of the 2 rightmost offer slots in the lower left corner of the game board. Place the remainder in a face-down stack to the right of the offer. Place 1 building tile, drawn for the building tile stack, face up in each region of the game board. Assemble the 3D temples and place them next to the game board. Place at random 1 god scoring tile onto the corresponding slot on the top. Return the remaining 2 god scoring tiles to the box. Place the Katoon marker on the uppermost space of the Katoon track and the 100-200 fame markers next to the 0 space of the fame track. Shuffle the roll cards and, without looking at their faces, form a face-down deck next to the board, consisting of cards equal to the number of players plus 1. Return any unused cards back to the box. Place all the resource tokens in a general supply near the board. Each player chooses a player color, which includes their leader, 12 workers, a weapons token which they place on the bottom here on their board, 6 cards of their color, and 7 tokens. One of the tokens will go on the bottom of the might track. The first player to go will place theirs at the bottom, followed by the second player to go, third player, fourth player, and so on. Their other player marker is placed on the 0 of the fame track. Lay out the 5 gameplay summary cards near the board and place a random starting pyramid tile on each. Beginning with the starting player and going clockwise, each player will choose a beginning card and take the associated temple tile and the 3 resources depicted on it. These go to their personal supply. A player's personal supply is resources not yet spent and temple tiles not yet built into their temple. Gameplay. Each round consists of a movement phase and action phase. During the movement phase, all players will simultaneously choose 2 cards. One to determine where they want their leader to go that round, and the second to determine their military might, just in case there's a conflict. Once all players have selected, they reveal both of their cards at the same time, and place their leader in the area of their leftmost card. If multiple players now have a ruler in the same region, a conflict is triggered and must be resolved. To resolve, look at the rightmost card, which is your military strength plus the number of weapons you have. You start with 0 weapons, so in this case, purple would win. The loser of the conflict gets 1 weapon. These weapons, by the way, go up to 5, then flip the tile for plus 5, and you can have a max of 10 weapons. Because green was the loser in this case, they would receive 1 weapon. Because purple was the winner, they get to move once up on the might track, receiving the corresponding award. In all cases, ties for military strength are broken in favor of the tied player whose marker is highest on the might track. If on the same space, the uppermost marker is considered the highest. All losers of the conflict must now retreat to an unoccupied adjacent region. In this case, green is going to choose to go to region 1. Each player now selects one of the 2 pyramid tiles from the region their ruler is in and adds it to their personal supply. This can be done simultaneously. The action phase. Starting with the player whose ruler is in the lowest numbered region and continuing in region number order, each player takes a single turn. The first thing you do is place one of your workers standing up in any city adjacent to the region containing your ruler. However, you cannot place a worker in a city that's adjacent to a region you lost a conflict in this turn. Because green lost this conflict this turn, he cannot place in these cities. However, he can still place there or there. At this time, if you have at least 1 worker in each city surrounding the region, your ruler is in that region, and it has a building tile, you may take that building tile and build it for free. You may now optionally summon the god that you placed your worker on this turn. To summon a god, count the number of pyramid tiles built in your pyramid on your player board that match the corresponding god. You may also discard any number of pyramid tiles of the matching god from your personal supply. The total number of matching tiles in your pyramid and/or that you discarded is the action strength of your summoning. If your summoning uses at least one tile in your pyramid, and you do not already have one of your player markers at the corresponding god's temple, place one in the leftmost empty space there now, and gain the fame shown on that space, if any. We'll discuss what each individual god power does later on. You may now optionally either produce or build. To produce, take any of the production tiles adjacent to the city you placed your worker in this turn, and get resources of that production type. The number of resources you get depends on the number of workers surrounding that production site. For instance, if there was just one worker, you would only get one resource, but if you had 4 workers surrounding it, you would get 4 resources of that type. The production tile you picked up goes in the next available space clockwise on the calendar track. At any time, you may trade for resources as follows: 2 resources of the same type for one of any other type of resource, or 2 pyramid tiles from your own personal supply for the resource of that color, in this case, black. There's a reminder of this on your summary card. Instead of producing, you may optionally choose to build. The number of things you can build depends on the number of workers in that city. For instance, if you have 1 worker in the city, you can build 1 thing. If you have 2 workers in the city, you can build 2 things, and so forth. In this case, purple can build 4 different things. The 2 things you can build are building tiles and temple tiles. Buildings are built from left to right, and whenever you cover up a symbol, you get the associated bonus. The buildings available for purchase are in the bottom left of the board. In the leftmost spot, you get a 1 resource discount, so this would only cost a corn or a cocoa. In the middle column, you get 1 fame for buying it, and in the right column, you get 2 fame for buying it. The cost of each building is always shown at the top of the building tile. Any temple tiles you build must come from your personal supply. In order to build a tile on the 2nd level or higher, there must already be a tile in each of the 2 spaces directly below the space you're building. The cost to build a temple tile is 1, 2, 3, or 4 different colored resources to put on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level of the pyramid. One of the resources you spend must match the color of the tile you build. So to build a yellow tile, 1 resource spent must be a corn. To build a black tile, 1 resource spent must be a charcoal. When you purchase a wild tile, 1 resource you spend is simply placed on top, permanently locking in its color. After building a pyramid tile, gain the reward shown on the space where you placed it, if any, and score adjacency bonuses. Gain 1 fame for each adjacent tile of the same color, and 1 fame for each adjacent tile of the same symbol. There's a reminder of this on your summary card. To finish up your turn, discard the cards you played this turn by placing them face up in a personal discard pile. Discard piles are considered open information. If you now have fewer than 2 cards remaining in your hand, or in a 2 or 3 player game your 2 cards are both 6s, redraw all of your discarded cards back into your hand. When all players have completed the action phase, the round ends. Replenish the pyramid tiles, discard the leftmost building tile, and slide the others left, then replenish. Do not replenish the production sites. At the end of the round, check to see if a Katoon celebration has been triggered. It is triggered if there's a production circle on the picture of the number of players playing, in this case, 4. If it has not been triggered, start another normal round. Otherwise, it's time to score. 2 things will score fame. Cities will score fame, and temples will score fame. Each city will give 2 fame for the player with the most workers in it. If tied for most, each tied player receives 1 fame. In this example, red will get 2 fame from this city, red and green would each get 1 fame for this city, red, purple, and white would each get 1 fame for this city, and purple will get 2 fame for this city. Players keep track of their fame by moving their marker around the fame track. Score each temple in turn. Each player who has a player marker at that temple earns fame based on the god scoring tile at the top. Each temple awards fame based on the performance of the player that has the highest value in that scoring category, no matter which players have placed their markers there. For example, this temple gives 1 fame for every differently colored tile in a player's personal supply. If the green player had 3 differently colored temple tiles in their supply, but it was the most out of all the players, then purple, red, and beige would each get 3 fame. If a player has finished their pyramid or placed her last worker, finish up the round, have a final Katoon celebration, and then the game ends. Also, if 3 Katoon celebrations have passed, the game ends. Otherwise, proceed with the next Katoon as follows. Move the Katoon marker down 1 space. Remove all the production site tiles from the calendar track, shuffle them, and place one at random face up on each empty production site on the game board. Return all player markers from the temples to their respective players. Start a new round with the movement phase. At the end of the game, the winner is the player with the most fame. We will now discuss each god power. Summoning its Omna allows you to pick up pyramid tiles. Choose a color of one of the tiles you use to summon. So for example, if I discarded this for an extra action strength, I could choose blue. Discarding this gives me 4 action strength, so I can choose 4 tiles of my chosen color from any region on the game board, wilds included. Or draw 1 tile at random from the bag and add it to my personal supply. If it's from the bag, the color doesn't matter. Summoning Shock allows you to get more resources. Choose a color used in your summoning, in this case yellow or brown, and find a production site anywhere on the board that matches it. In this case, I'm going to choose brown. Place it on the first available spot clockwise on the calendar track, and then take that type of resource. The number of resources received is your action strength. So if I were to discard these 2, my action strength would be 5, and I would get 5 cacao. Summoning the God of Trade allows you to move your workers around and also trade in resources. Determine your action strength. So if I discarded this, it would be 4. Then you may move one of your workers from any city to any adjacent city once per action strength. If, after you finish moving all the workers you wish to, you have at least 1 worker in each city adjacent to the region containing your ruler and they're still building in that region, you can use this to take that tile and build it for free. Choose a color you used in your summoning, in this case yellow. Each time you moved a worker with this power, you may also swap a resource from your personal supply for a resource of another color from the general supply. For each swap you make, either the traded resource or the acquired resource must match the color you chose. When you summon Ahau, you can take cards back in your hand and also lay one of your workers on its side, making it count as 2 workers. In this example, I have action strength of 3, so I can pick up 3 cards. They can be played cards or discarded cards. I can pick up role cards in this manner. Pick a color used in summoning, in my example blue, and find a production tile on the board matching that color. On any of the surrounding cities of it, you may lay down one of your workers. A laid down worker counts for all intents and purposes as 2 workers. When you summon the Jaguar God of the Underworld, you must remove a worker from the board, but you do gain fame and can move up on the might track. Pick a color you used for summoning, in my example black, and find any production tile of that color on the board. Choose 1 worker you have in either of those cities and remove it from off of the board. Alternatively, if you have a worker laying down in one of the cities, you may stand it up, changing it from 2 workers to 1 worker. Now gain the number of fame according to your action strength. For example, if I discard these 2 tiles, I'll have 5 action strength and will gain 5 fame. You may now move once up on the might track, getting the corresponding reward. Remember, if one of the god tiles is already built in your pyramid and you don't already have a token on the 3D pyramid, place one in the leftmost open spot. Symbology. There are many symbols in this game, but most of them are pretty intuitive. For brevity's sake, instead of explaining each one, I'm simply displaying the main pages of the rulebook that explain them. Please reference the rulebook if you have any further questions about the symbology. You now know how to play Ahau, Rulers of Yucatán.